We are families, we are caregivers, we are parents to children with disabilities and medical complexities. We are rarely familiar. We get together to learn, to relate, and to laugh a lot while we share each other's unique family experiences of raising the rarest of the rare. Our goal is to unite, inspire, educate, and empower people living a rarely familiar life. And we're so glad you're here.
Hi, welcome to Rarely Familiar. This is Tram, here with my friends Haley and Jen, where we dig into the realities of raising the rarest of the rare. Today, we are going to get familiar with tips on traveling by car with your loved ones with disabilities. Hi, everybody. How are you guys doing today?
Hi.
Good.
Can I just say that I'm going to Puerto Rico in 2 days, 3 days, Saturday, and I am beyond excited.
Are you doing this with your kids?
I am doing this with my eldest, Makai. I am leaving Julian with his dad, which is a rare opportunity. We alternate spring breaks. And so because it's hard to travel with Julian, I am just going with Makai. And he's actually already there for a school work project. So he's doing all kinds of crazy, construction projects right now, kind of like Habitat for Humanity. And then
You've traveled with Julian a lot though, right?
I have by car a lot, not by plane.
Okay.
So this is, going to another country. This is on a plane. It would just
That's
be
a whole nother
hard.
episode.
Yeah, it's a whole nother episode, which we'll get to. But yeah, so I'm super excited. It's in the 80s. I need the heat. So I'm ready for it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like gloomy here for the next week or so. The sun is out today. I need to go for a walk and just like soak in the vitamin D.
That's right.
And the snow is coming.
I know.
Snow is coming.
I've looked at 3 different apps. It's anywhere from like 2 to like 10 inches that we're supposed to get. I'll believe it.
When is it coming? Is it coming?
Right. I don't know.
Because I don't want it to interfere with my trip. It's not coming Saturday morning, I hope.
Don't worry about it. It'll all
We're one of the best airports for de-icing.
Yeah,
so I think
can handle it, I hope.
Yeah.
Minnesota can plow.
Yeah. Haley, are you going anywhere for spring break or are you going?
No, I mean, we just got back from Mexico a few weeks ago. We're going to go to Duluth so Felix can look at the cell phone towers.
I love Duluth. So we'll talk about all the things you can do offline because I got so many ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, like all he's going to want to do is look at the cell phone towers. No joke.
Awesome.
What about you, Trum?
Yeah, no, we had an e-ticket from a canceled trip from last summer. I was going to try and take her on a plane. And so I just booked a trip. We're flying into Orlando just for something warm. And then we're driving to the Atlantic side to this town called Palm Coast. Our friends are going to come meet us and my mother-in-law is going to come meet us. So it'll be nice. We have a house with a lanai and a heated pool so that at least Sadie can swim. And it'll be like in the 80s.
Sadie needs the like.
Yeah, she only does 90 degrees. She only does 90-degree water. Don't give her a cool pool because that girl is picky. She's like, nope.
Felix has started adaptive swimming with them and he was in a cooler pool. I mean, like cooler, like 85 degrees. And he's like, he started not wanting to go to swim lessons. And he's like, nope, can't do it anymore. And I'm like, why? And he just starts making the sign like shivering.
Yeah, you need to go to swim at Courage Center.
We're doing warm pool. No, we just switched pools. Yeah. It's 95 degrees and he's delighted.
That's nice. So today we're going to talk about traveling by car. So we're going to break up the episodes because there's so much that helpful tips and tricks that we have for everybody. So we're going to do one by car and then one by plane. So there'll be separate episodes for everybody. And then do
we think traveling by car easier? Like some days I think it is and some days I think it isn't. I think sometimes you pack too much when you travel by car as you can.
I agree.
I think traveling by car is way more feasible.
It's more economically more feasible, but I do think it's easier because you can bring more things. Do you know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Like by plane, I can't bring her gait trainer because they can barely handle a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Even though you bring more stuff traveling locally, it's more complicated to me in terms of flying.
Yeah, when we go to Duluth, we're going to bring all the things. And we're only going to be there for like 2 days.
Right.
I know. It's like for other people. So my girlfriend who she's had 3 kids and they're all older now. And I showed her, hey, look at all this stuff I've got to consider. She goes, you're like packing for infants on steroids. And I was like, it's true.
I mean, a show about travel, most people say, why do you need to talk about travel? It's because we're all packing as if we all have toddlers still. I mean,
Yeah.
all we have to say is diapers. Are you bringing diapers for your
Right.
14-year-old on a trip? You're not. Okay, so we definitely have different
Yeah.
suitcases full
So
of gear.
it's welcome
Because
to our
it's our
world.
only option.
Right.
It's we need to see family,
Yeah.
and none of our families live near us. And you have to be able to continue living your life.
Well, and
I
all
think
of us love traveled, right? We all love
yeah,
to travel and see adventures. And we want our kids to experience it. And sometimes I think that's the hardest part is remembering not to limit our kids.
yeah, we
True.
Because it's
can't.
hard. It is hard. All right, so let's dig into it. So we broke it up into sections of how we're going to discuss. So let's talk about preparations. I think we all prepare differently. Haley, you said you like to mentalize it.
Well, we were just talking about this. I love to, like, 2 weeks ahead of time, right? 2 weeks ahead of time, start thinking, like, what are all the things? What are all, yes, I have my lists and I have, but like, I get my suitcase out, like, open it up and just start piling things in it. There are so many medical things you can't pack until last minute, but there's a lot of things like diapers and cartons of food you can put in there, and all of those things you can start just getting off the mental list so
Yeah.
that you can have the capacity to focus on the things you have to pack last minute. Like, what prescriptions can I, like, it's the mental, you got to start at least 2 weeks ahead. That's my process. I don't
Jen,
know.
how's your approach? What's your approach to the
Depends what's going on in my life. I would ideally like to start 2 weeks ahead. And sometimes I do. I put an empty suitcase out, and as I pass by, I throw things in that I know I'm going to need. But I'm also a list maker. But the weird
Mhm.
thing is, I make my list for every trip and then I tear it up because I like to cross it off, and then I throw it away and it feels really good. And then I start a new list for the next trip. Instead of probably what you do, Tram, you have your list
Yeah,
on your computer that you print out, which is
right.
probably what I need to start doing, but that's just not my style. So I'm definitely writing down because there's so many extra
Yeah.
things that we need to pack, right?
And we all have different styles, right? So I went online and I just downloaded a packing template that, everybody still needs clothes, underwear,
Yeah.
socks. So that's already in there, which I still do need to check off, right? So then I just added a column listing off all of her medical things. So literally from swimming for swim diapers, I put that on there. Her
The
life
neck
jacket.
tube, yeah.
Right. So
Mhm.
I'll put the link into the show notes. So if people want to link on to it, but you'll just have to put your own medical thing. But, like the high priority items like medicine, I
Mhm.
look at that list because then I also am comparing when was the last time I filled it. Can I get the refill before I even leave? And then
Yeah.
if not, is it a prescription that is at Walgreens, which is a national chain, versus a specialty meds? Because then that's where it gets really complex is the specialty meds that I have to get shipped to me because Sadie's on so many medications for her seizures. So that's the biggest thing for me. And so, Jen, the nice thing about the list is then I even have a column that says, here's the item. How many do I need? Did I pack it? Yes. So leaving for departure, I have a packing. And then I also
So
have a
you
column
check
to
it off
check
on
it
the
off.
computer, not
I check, no, I check, I print it off. I do
Okay.
print it off, but then
Okay.
I'm also counting out the days. So then I can see how much formula I need, how many feeding bags I need, how many diapers I need. So
Yeah.
all of that I start doing. So I have a column to check it that I repacked it to leave because I have left those cribs because she has acid reflux to tilt her up. I've forgotten those things, right?
Right.
So
Well,
I
it's a
did put it
great
back.
idea to have a list because I was just at a
Yeah.
hotel last weekend for one night, this cheap little motel in the middle of nowhere because Makai had to take the SAT and there were no testing
Yeah.
spots in the Twin Cities. So we drove 3.5 hours in the car, Julian, Makai, and I stayed at this cheap little motel, and I realized I forgot Julian's life jacket because
Yeah.
that was one thing we could do, go in the pool. So yeah, I am going to get the link for this packing list.
The other thing for prep is, and I think this is different for Jen and I because we have different situations, is we look for housing and where our housing even is. And so if I'm trying to rent an Airbnb versus a VRBO, I need it wheelchair accessible and I need a bedroom on the main floor so I'm not having stairs. Or if I use a hotel, I have a lot of equipment, so I try to get it as close to the door as possible. The less amount of time going in and out of an elevator, I prefer first floor, where Jen, I think it's different for you because you have Julian to contend
Yeah,
with.
I
Who's
mean, I
gonna,
want to be on the first floor too, though. I don't want to be on the second
yeah,
floor. I don't want a balcony for him to fall off of. I don't want to
Yeah.
be by an exit or by the lobby.
Because escape. Yeah.
I don't want to be by the pool in case he gets out. I
yeah,
want to make sure I can secure the door. But hotels aren't ideal for us. But, those are kind of some of the things I look for. I also make sure that I know where the hospital is, wherever we stay, whether it's a hotel or Airbnb. But uh,
agree. Same
yep.
here. So I even look where the closest hospital children's is, just so I know in case I have an emergency situation. So when I'm in it, I don't have to think and worry as much. It's another checklist item on my packing list of where is the hospital. So let's move on. We're now in the car. What do we need for the car and how do we transport our stuff there? So we both have our wheelchair vans,
You made
but
me get one. I
yeah,
wasn't going to get one, and you made me get one because
and
Tram is
it's the
always two
best.
steps ahead.
And it's the best thing you ever did, right? Remember when I said, "Are you going to keep lifting him in and out?"
I know. My
It's not good.
shoulders were killing me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good for our backs. And so we already had a car topper. And so that's where I start packing early. Like if I can start putting her diapers in there early and all those things that I don't need right away, her IV pole that we have for travel,
Yeah.
I start putting it in there.
We have a
But
hitch on the back of our car where you can trailer stuff. It was like $100. You just like put this rack on and it's just like a big duffel bag. That's what we use for extra help
yeah,
Oh,
because
that's
we need
cool.
the whole inside of our van
It's
for
like the
wheelchair.
car topper, but it's in the back of your car.
yeah,
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
yeah. And then we
Yeah,
had
that's
that hitch
smart.
too, because I wanted to bring her gait trainer. And we at one point we were taking out the front seat, right? Because in a converted van, you can take out both front seats. So we were taking out our front seat, fitting
Yeah.
in her gait trainer and trying to shove every little inch in. And so one helpful hint that I wanted to give everybody was if you don't have those things, check with your friends because they might have the car topper that you can borrow. So we actually lend out our car topper to our friends. And then we've borrowed the hitch in the past where they have, that the back mounted one. But the other thing that I think I've thrown out for Jen, you, because you have that electrical bike, was putting it out on Nextdoor or the Buy Nothing group is the big thing on Facebook is
Mhm.
asking if your neighbors have one because they're not always using their hitches probably. So if you don't have it, don't go out and buy one. Try and see if you can borrow one first from your local neighbors and everything as well.
But I just want to point this out because we're talking about all this stuff we have, like
Yeah.
a couple things that I have extra. I have to have a seatbelt buckle guard in my car. I have to have a seat liner. I have to make sure the door lock is safety, and secure, strollers, blah, 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 all this stuff. We are on waiver programs. Julian's on the waiver program. We get a lot of money to keep him safe. It's not like all this stuff I'm like paying out of pocket. So like I
Mhm.
feel like in the bike, was through a Wishes and More amazing organization, this foundation. So, you know, I don't want it to sound like we have all this money and we're buying all these things for our kids, but like we're being supported. Our state is
Yeah.
is very
Yeah.
generous with the programs that they offer for kids like ours. And so we're applying for grants, we're applying for, we're on the waiver programs, different things like that. So I just want to make sure that is clear because
Yeah,
it
we
does
are
take
we
a
are
lot of
allotted a
stuff.
budget, yeah, to
Right.
be able to spend on some of these things that we need, right?
Right.
Like all of these
Right.
things that we need to be able to live
Because
life.
Like, so once you get to your destination, you're not aware of maybe you're going to a new place. So sometimes I will scour the tourism sites also, like we're going to Orlando or whatever, or we're driving, like you're going to Duluth, right? You can, while there are, Facebook groups for like accessible travel that you can go on, I do look up the actual tourism site and then I see a lot of park trails, I'll look in advance if they have accessible routes so that we can
Mhm.
enjoy it with our kids. Um, for pools, we need that extra help. So we look at hotels if we're in a hotel, if they have that seat that actually lowers into the pool, because
Yeah.
ADA laws, after a certain period of time when they got enacted, they were supposed to have those chairs. But I have to call in advance. So that's the other thing is,
Yeah.
even though that you
When was
see
the
the
last time you
picture,
used it?
yeah, you
does
see
it
the
work?
Does it work?
picture, I call and I say, "Hey, can you tell me, does that pull chair actually work? Can you check it? Because I want to make sure because we're going to come to use it." And so, they'll send staff because it's locked up a lot of times because it doesn't get used and they don't want it abused. So that was, that's something that I do in advance to help, just to make sure that we have that ability so we can get into the pool. I think for another helpful tip that I have is when you're on the road. So say, like all of our kids are diapered here, is there is a map and there is a campaign that I'm a part of. The Changing Spaces campaign website actually has a map of all places that have adult sized changing tables. So if anybody sees a location, we'd like for you to submit it. But we still have that as an uphill battle because even our rest areas don't all have them. We're slowly starting to get them in Minnesota.
I mean, like that's to me, that's a no-brainer. Like,
Right.
come on. I mean,
But-
like if people are going to travel, especially disabled people, if they're going to travel, 90% of it is happening on the road. They have,
On the road.
and so
Mhm.
why can we?
Yeah.
I think people thought like, oh, we have a wheelchair accessible stall. Isn't
Toilet.
that
Yeah.
enough? You know?
Yeah. And I think that's the
Um,
thing is it's the awareness. So until I was in this world, I didn't know, right? And so whenever I bring it up, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it. So there is a map. It is slow going, but at least for all the states that we have chapter leads, we are putting it in there. Some things that I did do on the past trip. So we went to Canada and I brought one of those zero gravity reclining chairs that folds up, and that's out on our hitch outside. And so it isn't awesome, but we put it next to, so we did do it like if the rest stop was like empty, we parked on the edge and then we did it where we pulled it next to the car. But I did see online there's this thing called the car cabana, which I bought. And so you lift the trunk of
Oh,
your
I saw that. You bought
minivan.
it.
Yeah, I bought it. And so then it magnets on there. And now I was like, what? So the zero
Oh, so
gravity chair,
it's like a row or like a
like a
curtain?
portable chaining curtain. So it's
Oh,
called the
interesting.
car cabana and it magnets onto your
Oh my
trunk.
goodness. Right.
Think
And so
about
that
like
you have
bringing
your
your kids to
space.
the beach. They can change quick,
Yeah.
Like,
So
I
think
that's
of it
what
as
was
that's a
made
great
for.
idea.
Yeah.
So
You found
anybody
that on
can use it.
Nextdoor?
No, it's not
Find
on
it.
Nextdoor. I found it.
Or
So I'll
Facebook.
put that in the notes.
Okay.
Car cabana. And so the zero gravity chair was a little loosey goosey. Sean had to hold it. And so I would say I wouldn't recommend it because she moves a lot. So now I'm thinking the next thing I'm going to do, sad that I have to think about this, but a portable massage table that folds in half. They're lightweight. So I'm probably
Yeah.
going to have to
Yeah.
do that to lift her out to change her.
But
And
then,
so,
like, say you're traveling alone, like that's
Because you need
yeah,
carry
or
that.
you need
you
something
gotta-
higher up, you're saying to slide it on.
yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
just say that I have, and I know you both, as we're saying here, I have changed Julian's diaper on the road in public so many times. There's
Mhm.
never an easy situation.
It isn't.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, in the back of my back hatch, on the side of the car, we've
Yeah.
held up towels and blankets, my older son. And I mean, I've had to lay him down in like the dirtiest
Nasty
gas
toilet
station
floors. Yeah.
bathrooms, and there's not
Yeah.
enough, there's no paper towel or whatever to lay him on. Disgusting. So many times. And now, I used to get away with it when he was little. I could just like,
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he's 14. You can't get away with that.
Yeah.
And so on our trip, I didn't look at the map of changing spaces until after because I was so rushed.
Mhm.
I found one in La Crosse, which is right where we needed to change his diaper.
Oh,
And I
no.
could not believe it. I got home and okay, mental note, I'm going to be looking
Okay.
next time. But
So prep.
So you know what I'll do
Prep
is
changing
in
spaces
my
before you road
my
trip.
packing list, I'll
Yes.
put a line because I don't have a line in the packing list. Check map for changing
yes,
destinations.
add that, please. Add that. That's perfect.
Everybody's like, just change her in the back row. And I was like, she's now 4 feet too, and she'll kick. And then she knocks her head on the back seat of my car. We've done it
Well,
in the,
and
it's
Felix
just not
uses
enough
the
room.
potty.
Yeah.
Felix uses he wears diapers like as just in case,
Yeah.
but he can't stand up. So he doesn't fit on a child changing table anymore. And in order for me to pull his pants down, like I lay him down, pull
Yeah.
his pants down, then put him on the potty, then put
Yeah.
him back on the table
Table.
that can't hold him up. So we use
Yeah.
we bring like a little folding cot thing, like
Oh, that's nice.
folds
Yeah.
up and
Yeah.
goes back out. I think I got it on Amazon. It was like $20.
And he's
Um,
cognitively aware where here's not wiggle. So like Sadie will wiggle her way off because she's like, what are we doing? What are we
Yeah.
doing?
Where am I?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
You can't see.
and
Yeah.
she's kicking and she's like, what's going
Yeah.
on? So that cot, I looked at the cot and I was like, oh, if only they would make that cot higher because she's getting
Yeah, it's pretty
heavier and
low.
it's so
It's better
low.
than being on the ground, but it's still pretty
Yeah,
low.
it's clean. It's cleaner than being on the ground.
Cleaner.
I mean, no,
Mhm.
now I went to the Target, like bullseye area, and I
Yeah.
saw, during the spring they have picnic mats. And I was like, oh my God, that's the perfect changing mat size. And so I could lay on it and it was $5. And so I keep it in a bag, Jen. I just keep that in my bag of like extra clothes, wipes, diapers.
Yeah.
And so I bring that, it's attached to our wheelchair. I have that luxury because I do have to use the wheelchair, I guess. So that's the other thing is at truck. So here's the other thing I did on our trip to Canada, because we're driving through the middle of nowhere. We stopped and there were truck stops and they have shower rooms. And so I
Oh,
asked for privacy. Can I bring in this chair, lay her down so we have
oh,
something? Because it was 100 degrees outside. And I was like, I can't keep,
oh.
it was just hot to do it
Is the
outside.
shower room a little bigger? I've never been in them.
No,
The
it
shower
is. So think of like a tiny, like a bathroom stall, but it's a shower stall. It was long enough that we
Yeah.
could put it in. So thank
Okay.
goodness I had somebody else there so Sean and I could transfer because we couldn't fit her
Yeah.
wheelchair into. But at least it gave me some privacy because our kids deserve dignity and privacy, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I think also with mixed gender children, like a man changing a daughter or vice versa, I think it just starts to look weird when we're doing it on the side of a road. And
Yeah.
so that's where I thought the car cabana, because I did have someone come up to us when we were changing her out in the parking lot of the rest stop, and I was like, whoa, space here.
Yeah.
So that's, so that was, I would say those are the biggest things that I did do. And they were like, sure, go ahead and use it. But it's tough because when they don't have family companions and we have different, my husband and I both need to help Sadie because she's so big. That's where it gets really tough. Where you have mixed gender bathrooms. I think that's the hardest thing. So those were the biggest things that I had.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other helpful tips or tricks that I left off that I didn't get
I
to?
want to jump more into lodging a little bit more. I
Yeah,
feel like we
yeah,
glossed over
perfect.
that. I think we
Yeah.
touched on hotels, but I don't
Yeah.
think we touched on Airbnbs. And is it VRBO or VRBO?
I
How
know.
do you guys?
People say both. People do both.
I like to say VRBO. so
Whatever
I'm
you
gonna
want to say.
I was just going to say that, the flexibility with Airbnbs is that you can look and get what you need, right? So a hotel, kind of the same thing. There's a room, you don't have a backyard, all these things. Not to totally personalize it, but for me, which has been a challenge with Airbnbs, is that I have so many limitations. So for example, I can't get a place unless there is, so this is what I look for. You can't have a busy road. You cannot
Mhm.
have a cliff nearby. No open water, no high decks, no ladders. And I'll tell you the ladder story. I was at an Airbnb on Madeline Island with my family, and the whole second floor of the house was accessible from a ladder. And it was a
Mhm.
very steep ladder. And I thought, what is going on? Like, this is not accessible.
Yeah.
So we were relegated downstairs, Julie and I, to this little room with this bed that was kind of funky.
Right.
It was just not, the coils were off on the mattress. But they didn't advertise it in the photo. So, you can look at all the photos and go, okay, but you often have to email the host. But I have found a
Yes.
little bit of, when you email a host and you mention you have a child that's special needs or whatever, I've felt that sometimes it's risky that maybe they'll
Mm.
say, no, we don't want you in our
Mhm.
house. I
Mhm.
know that's illegal and everything, but I've always had this fear because we were also
Because
on
of
an,
potential liability
yeah.
or Yeah.
Well, like, so I was, so another short story is that I was at a different, so every time we go to Madeline Island, my mom takes us every summer, we always have to go to a new cabin every single time because we
Yeah.
find something severely wrong, right? Because
Mhm.
it's dangerous. It's
Mhm.
dangerous. Oh my gosh, we didn't realize there was a ladder. We didn't realize we were by a
Yeah.
cliff or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're at this one house. And then the other thing is we go in and you have to move everything that's fancy, anything that's breakable, we have to put it
Mhm.
out of reach, right? So we
Mhm.
do that. We're at this cute little cabin right on Madeline Island on the beach. After the trip, we get an email from the host and they say, we're missing our smiley rocks. And we're like, oh, okay. And they were so upset that they were going to call the police because my kids that I didn't have control of, and she actually said something. I said, "Oh, my son's special needs. He may have grabbed the rock and thrown it outside." And she went off on me Like you should have control of your child if they have limitations, this and this and that. And it became this whole ordeal. They charged us $150 for 3 missing rocks from the ocean that had indentations of a smiley face. It was the most bizarre thing. And we were even mindful of moving things out of the way so that we wouldn't accidentally break something, because Julian's kind of all over the place. But so after that and kind of the way she talked to me, I thought, oh boy, I don't know if I want to mention this to people moving forward. But anyway,
No, I think it's good. I think
yeah, it
all
is
of these
good, but it's
experiences
just
are
like, it's
good.
just a reminder that travel, it is not as easy for us. And we do have to think about things that are outside the box, right? How
Yeah,
we keep our kids safe and all the different things that go with it. So I think sometimes this limits people from traveling. They're just, I can't do it. It's too much work.
it
Not
is a
just the
lot of work.
financial piece, but just the logistical side of it makes it challenging. And so,
Yeah,
offering some tips and tricks is super helpful for people with how to do things. But like a camping
agree.
cot or something, that's a great idea. But if it's
Agree.
winter,
So for
whatnot.
yeah, for like
So-
Airbnb and VRBO, I even go above and beyond. I always email and I say my toddler, or I do downgrade them in age.
Okay.
And because right, and then I'm like,
It just
she is
helps
in a
them
wheelchair.
understand.
She's
Yeah.
in a wheelchair, and I need to know, are your doors wide enough? And one did say, oh, that door isn't probably wide enough for her. And so I was like, looking at the pictures, I don't see steps, but I just need to make sure. So I always do put that out there that I need this. And I will say this, and I know I've read it in other blogs, is that I think Airbnb and VRBO need more training for their their people that rent out, because they do have an accessible filter, but yet people mark it. I'm like, there's like 10 stairs. And so I think
Right.
they just don't see it through the
Yeah.
lens that we know it. And so I would agree. I think I
Like,
even
it's
Google
accessible.
Map.
You can get there.
Yeah, I Google satellite. Is that strange? But yeah, so
No.
I do. And I agree, Jen. Like, it's those aspects that other people don't have to think about that we do. So hopefully this does help. But I always call and email as much as possible. Haley,
like,
you had
if
something.
anybody
so
listening-
much, so much prep, so much prep.
So
like,
much.
Yeah,
to
the prep is
get-
important.
I mean, like the prep to get there. My question to both of you is it worth it?
It is.
Well, and I think a lot
It
of us,
is. I mean, are we going to keep
Yes,
doing
it's
it,
always
right?
worth it. Yeah.
yes. I
And-
mean, once you get there
Yes.
and you start to relax, but it does take me a
It's
couple
the
days.
hardest part is packing. The hardest part is planning.
Right.
Yeah, once you're doing it and once you've done it, you feel
Right.
stronger because you have. I just want to help other people realize, like, yes, you can. Because
yeah.
I know so many people that are so afraid to do it because of all these things, because they're afraid they're going to forget a medication. They're afraid they're going to,
Yeah.
how do I do that? So, like, how do we help you
Agree.
like not be afraid of traveling? Because if we can do it, you can do it, right?
Yes. Yes.
And there are ways in which it can be easier, but it does take a lot of planning. But as soon as the planning phase is over, then then you're there, you're at
Yeah.
the place, you're doing the thing that you wanted to do or you needed to do. Packing up to go home, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, just
I will
throw
say this.
everything
I
in.
agree. And my word of advice is do it while they're younger. Because
Get
honestly,
used to it.
you do. And I would say I checked with the doctors. Is it okay if I go? And they're like, please do go. You need to go. I would say while they're still young and you can fit them on all the small things, it takes up less space. And then
Well,
you do get used to it.
there goes my opportunity for that.
Right.
But I do have to say though, and I agree, it is worth it. It's absolutely worth it. We need travel in our life. But I do want to also just point out that it is also exhausting in one level because you can't let your guard down. It's a constant. It's
You have to be
different. You're in
on.
a different environment. It is. And so I do acknowledge it is not easy, but I do
Yes.
think it's worth it. And I think to the single parents out there like myself, that's a whole different experience where you don't
yeah.
get on vacation. I don't get somebody to say, oh, Jen, go sit in the hammock and read your book. I'll take
Right.
it from here. No,
Yeah.
I'm on duty the whole time, So it is exhausting, but it is worth it because that's what I value. It, may not be worth it for many people, but yeah, as much as we can help with this. But I would love if anybody has ideas that we're, because I'm sure there's a million other tips and tricks that we would love to hear them from you, and then we can share them. because I love how creative people can be.
Agree. And then
You
I
have
We've
to
all
be.
had to hack our way through
Right.
life up, you know.
Yep.
Right. And I wanted to share the resource. So I follow Curb Free with CoreyLee.com. He is on all the social media and we'll put it in our show notes. But he was diagnosed at 2 years old with spinal muscular atrophy type 2 and uses a power wheelchair. So he always has someone with him to help him because he does need cares. But he actually has made a career out of traveling. And so he writes these amazing blogs and ideas of domestic travel and international travel. And he was actually just recognized as Condé Nast Traveler, one of the most influential in the field of accessible travels. So follow his thing because I found like I'm going to a certain city and I'm looking it up. And he knows like the tourist companies, he knows like how to get transportation. And so if you're traveling by plane or whatever, I
Herb
highly
Free with
recommend that.
Corey Lee. I like that.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, he's awesome. I've checked his
Yeah.
stuff out. Great.
great.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.
Bye. If you liked today's topic or have comments, questions, or thoughts on what else you would like us to cover, please visit rarelyfamiliar.com or connect with us on all the social channels. Resources will be listed in our show notes, and we'll be back next time with another discussion around living life successfully with rare medical complexities. Thanks for joining us on the journey.